Hello friends, on 15th August 1947, our country became independent. But this is the day on which the partition of our country also took place. Our country was divided into two parts. One became India and the other became Pakistan. This story of partition started from Bengal. The year was 1904 and at that time the viceroy was Lord Curzon. Lord Curzon proposed the partition of Bengal, and the reason given was that Bengal is a very large province, and to govern it effectively, it is necessary to divide it into two parts. And due to this, Bengal was partitioned in the year 1905. One part became West Bengal, and the other part became East Bengal. This partition was done in such a way that West Bengal became a Hindu majority area, while East Bengal became a Muslim majority area. It could be clearly seen that Britishers, due to their divide and rule policy, were trying to divide the people of our country on the basis of religion, and their only aim was to create a rift between Hindus and Muslims so that nationalism and unity of our country could be hampered. But the question is, how did the people of India react to the Bengal partition? So you can see here that widespread political protest was seen against this partition at both local and national level, and Swadeshi and boycott movement was raised against Bengal partition. People got angry because of partition. They believed that partition of Bengal was an insult to their motherland. But on the other hand, Muslims of East Bengal were not opposing Bengal partition. On the contrary, they were quite happy with this partition. If asked why the Muslims living in East Bengal were supporting this partition, then the answer is that the economic condition of the Muslims living here was very bad, and these people believed that the Hindus of Bengal are responsible for their condition, who have dominated the business in Bengal, due to which the Muslims were not able to prosper in Bengal. But this belief was only for Muslims living in East Bengal. If seen on a large scale, we can see that there were protests everywhere against the partition of Bengal. Swadeshi and boycott movement was also very successful. And because of these protests by the people of our country, the Britishers finally rejected the partition of Bengal in 1911. That is, both the parts of Bengal were reunited. Bengal was united again. It seems that the people of India won. But by dividing Bengal in 1905, Britishers were able to successfully implement their divide and rule policy. In the period from 1905 to 1911, Hindus and Muslims of Bengal were looking at each other with suspicion. Everything was being seen from the communal angle. For example, when Bal Gangadhar Tilak organized Shivaji and Ganpati festival in Maharashtra so that more and more people could be connected with Swadeshi and boycott movement, then in this also people showed communal angle. So we can see that in this period from 1905 to 1911, Britishers sowed the seeds of communal differentiation in India. The result was that the Muslim League was formed in 1906, and shortly after that, in 1909, the British Parliament enacted the Indian Council Act 1909, also known as the Minto-Morley Reforms. By this act, separate electorate was introduced for the first time in India, which played a very important role in the growth of the Muslim League. Due to Minto-Morley reforms, Indian National Congress and Muslim League had now come face to face. Indian National Congress was not ready to accept separate electorate under any circumstances, whereas Muslim League was quite happy with the provision of separate electorate. In fact, separate electorate was introduced on demand of Muslim League itself. The Indian National Congress did not want any enmity between the Muslim League and the Indian National Congress. So the Indian National Congress made some efforts on its part to pacify the Muslim League. It was discussed how to bring the Muslim League together and form a common ground between the two parties. And as a result, a joint session of Muslim League and Congress was called in December 1916. This session took place in Lucknow, and that is why it is also called Lucknow Pact 1916. Here, the Indian National Congress approved the demand of their separate electorate in the provincial council elections to pacify the Muslim League. This was such a mistake made in the history of India that is not possible to reverse. Lucknow Pact 1916 had made Muslim League representative of all Muslims of India overnight in Indian politics. Before 1916, Muslim League was not considered as a big party. Before that, no one knew how many people were with Muslim League. But now, because a big party like Congress had surrendered to the demands of Muslim League, that is why Muslim League had become a big party in the eyes of people, which was talking in the interest of Muslims. Apart from this, the second outcome of Lucknow Pact 1916 was that it had established communalism as an unavoidable part of Indian politics. That is, it was confirmed that now communalism is also a part of mainstream politics in India. So we can see how a party started in 1906 had become a big party by 1916. But the period after that, especially from 1919 to 1922, is seen as the golden period of Hindu-Muslim unity. Because here, due to the efforts of Gandhiji, both the communities together participated in movements, especially in the Khilafat movement and the non-cooperation movement. But when the Chauri Chaura incident happened in 1922, Gandhiji said that our country is not yet ready for independence. And with this, Gandhiji stopped the non-cooperation movement. Withdrawal of non-cooperation movement created a state of disappointment among people, and due to this frustration, communalism raised its head again. Between 1923 and 1927, total 88 communal riots took place. Due to these communal riots, there was a different atmosphere in the country, and by 1930, the situation was such that Indian Muslims had started thinking about a separate statehood, and thus the two-nation theory appeared, where it was said that Hindus and Muslims belong to two different nations which have different history, different culture and different traditions. So how can these two nations live in one country? And in 1933, the name of the separate nation was also thought of. A Muslim student studying in Cambridge University, whose name was Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, said that the name of this separate nation should be Pakistan. But in 1937, when the provincial elections were held, the performance of the Muslim League was very bad. The Muslim League could not perform well even on the Muslim reserved seats. Only 25% of the Muslim reserved seats went to the account of the Muslim League. In such a situation, the question now arose whether the Muslim League really represents the Muslims of India. It means to say that if in spite of separate electorate, even on Muslim reserved seats, if Muslim candidates of Congress are winning in place of Muslim League candidates, then it means that Indian Muslims are still represented by Congress and not by Muslim League. But till 1940, Muslim League turned the tables. In 1940, the Muslim League passed the Lahore Resolution, also known as the Pakistan Resolution. Here, the Muslims living in British India put a stamp on their demand for a separate homeland. The Lahore Resolution is very important because a large number of Muslim League delegates had given their wholehearted support to the demand for a new country. But the question is that when in the provincial elections of 1937, the Muslims themselves did not support the Muslim League, then how did this situation come till 1940? The reason being that the Congress had performed very well in the provincial elections of 1937, and that is why the Congress government remained in most of the provinces. And when Congress was running the government in these provinces, the Muslim League utilized that time very well. The Muslim League managed to convince the Muslims living in India that nothing good would happen to them under the rule of Congress. And the result was that when the elections were held again in 1945-1946, the Muslim League performed very well on the Muslim seats. All the Muslim reserved seats in the Central Legislative Assembly went to the account of Muslim League. Apart from this, the Muslim League had performed very well even on the provincial seats reserved for Muslims. So by the time of 1945, such a situation had developed that no one had any problem in saying that the Muslim League is the real representative of the Muslims, because the Muslim League had proved this in the elections of 1945-46. Although Congress was more successful in general electorate seats in these elections, but because Congress could not perform that well on Muslim reserved seats, that is why Congress could not claim that Congress is representative of both Hindus and Muslims of India. And now in this situation, Britishers were planning to transfer power to India. In such a situation, they presented many proposals one after the other. For example, Cripps Mission, Wavell Plan and Cabinet Mission Plan. But power transfer could happen only when both Muslim League and Indian National Congress agree on these proposals. But both parties were not ready to agree on any plan, and the situation was completely face to face. It was difficult to extract any kind of compromise, and in such a situation, the Muslim League chose the day of 16th August 1946 for Direct Action Day. This was the day on which communal riots were seen on a very large scale in our country. The Britishers somehow stopped these communal riots and sent Lord Mountbatten to India for power transfer, and said that now in any case by June 1948 power should be transferred by making an agreement between the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. So after coming to India, Lord Mountbatten prepared a plan. This plan was called Mountbatten Plan. In this plan, British India was partitioned to make two sovereign countries, India and Pakistan. Congress and Muslim League approved this plan, and thus on 15th August 1947 the country was partitioned. The notes of this video are available on bookstawa.com website. You will find the link in the description. Videos are available on Bookstawa channel on many topics of history. You can watch them too. In the playlist of modern history, you will find all the videos from the arrival of East India Company till the independence of India. If you like this video, then do not forget to press like button, share this video with your friends and subscribe to Bookstawa channel to keep watching more such videos. Thank you so much for watching Bookstawa.